Transfer news today, ladies and gentlemen. Transfer news today. Well, more news coming out again about Pau Torres across the media, saying Tottenham and Conte have got a lot of belief, a lot of confidence, and they can get something done. He, of course, is the left-sided centre-back who plays for Villarreal, who was unfortunate not to. Well, I wouldn't say unfortunate, but they didn't make the Champions League final on Tuesday night, having gone 2-0 up in the second leg to Liverpool, and then Liverpool came back, to win the game 3-2 and 5-2 on aggregate. Pau Torres played at left-sided centre-back in that team. That team also had the three old Tottenham boys, Etienne Capoue, Juan Foyth, and Giovanni Lo Celso, who still is a Tottenham player. I believe that the reason why Pau Torres deal could happen, will happen, maybe could happen, should happen, is because Lo Celso has been a revelation at Villarreal, and they would love to keep him. If Tottenham had to pay 55, 56 million, whatever the valuation is on Pau Torres, straight up, with no other connections, I don't think it would be as easy to do, because we have lots of positions we need to rebuild in. So for me, I think that what you'll see is Lo Celso will go on a permanent deal the other way at a valuation of, say, 30 million. Wow. And if you can see that in the sky, there is a Boeing 747 that's being chaperoned by two fighter jets. That's mad. Is it taking off or going up in the air? No, it's coming down. Wonder what that's about. I live right near Heathrow and not too far from Gatwick, so that's interesting. That usually only happens when there's bad news on board. Keep an eye out in the news for whatever that was. Literally, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but a 747 was coming into land, and it was chaperoned by two fighter pilots, from the Air Force or whatever. Hope there's nothing scary happening there. Anyway, Pau Torres, I think he'll go for 30. I think we'll get him for a net 25 million quid or something, right? Which would be great, because we don't want Lo Celso back anyway, but he does have intrinsic value still to the club. He's still got contractual value as well, and he obviously has some value to Villarreal for the role that he's played in their season and getting them to their first ever Champions League semi-final. So I could see Pau Torres replacing Ben Davies. Ben Davies dropping down to a squad level centre-back, which I'm absolutely okay with. That will allow us then to move, say, Joe Rodon either out of the club altogether or send him out on loan somewhere where he can show his potential and his competencies, and then either come back to play and compete next season or season after next, or have his value increased from whatever it is now. If you were to sell Rodon now, you probably wouldn't get the money back you paid for him. Maybe you get 8 million, 10 million, something like that, 12 million, I don't know. Similar sort of value, I guess, to like a Cameron Carter-Vickers, or maybe slightly more than Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's obviously another deal that we can hopefully finalise this summer. So if you could get 10 million for Carter-Vickers, you could get, and Celtic really want to tie that one up, you could get 30 million for Lo Celso. Let's say you could get 10 million for Harry Winks. I don't know who would buy. Maybe Fulham would benefit from Harry Winks, someone like that. 10 to 15 million quid for him. He's still relatively young, isn't he, Harry Winks? Still got a decent sledge of his career left ahead of him. He's got a lot of Premier League experience, and maybe someone would take a punt on him. If you could get that together, you've basically paid for Pau Torres, right? By moving on players that you don't want or don't need. Cameron Carter-Vickers, Joe Rodon, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Harry Winks and Lo Celso, and you've got Pau Torres. Thank you very much. Come on in, Pau. Welcome, Pau. Love that idea. Who else can we move on? Steven Bergwijn, 25 million quid. You know, get rid of him, sell him to Ajax, and bring in, I mean, I don't know, Dybala, guys. What do you think about Dybala? Looks like Inter Milan might be going after him. You know, the agent said there's no truth to the rumours that it's been agreed and finalised. Maybe so, but no smoke without fire. A lot of the times, I'd imagine he goes to Inter. So if it's not going to be Dybala, could it be Memphis Depay? He's a good player. I think you could get him for 25 million. Straight swap. One Dutchman for another. I think a better version of Steven Bergwijn. I think you keep Lucas Moura, even though he's disappointed us in the game against Leicester. I think he's generally been a good player for Tottenham since January of last season. I think he's had a good 15 months at Tottenham. When he's come in, he's always tried hard. He's a workhorse. He runs at defenders. He does offer something a little bit different. He's a bit of a headless chicken for sure. And he was disappointing against Leicester. He doesn't have an end product, but he's someone that can do something different for us. So I'm happy. And he's also, you know, a team player. He's okay to be a bench player. Come on and do whatever he does. He doesn't cause any trouble. So I'm okay with him staying around. Other news. I was speaking about on a couple of shows this guy Yidvan Vilmas, I think his name is. Turkish guy. Plays for Besiktas. He's 20 years old. He's like a swashbuckling left wing back. And the rumours were that we were going to be interested and pay for, we were going to bid something like 8 million quid, 9 million quid for him. 10 million euros, I think it was. We're going back, Bugs. But I was like, really? Never heard of the guy. Not that I follow Turkish football. And I was like, maybe that's just someone making things up. Anyway, Turkish president comes out yesterday and says he can confirm there has been a bid from Europe, from an English club, but it's only 8 million euros and they want the 10 million euros. And if he gets the 10 million euros, then he'll accept the bid and Vilmas can move on. And I looked around and there wasn't any other rumours of any other clubs in England being rumoured with him. So maybe there's a bit of truth to this guy. Turkish player. I looked up his highlight reel. Does look quite cool. Does look quite tricky. But how much can you take from looking at Turkish league highlights? Everyone's highlight reel on YouTube is fantastic. Not every player can deliver that level on a regular basis. Most players can't. So, I don't know, but he could be someone that's replacing Serge Reguilon. You know, I definitely think that there's no smoke without fire to the idea that Reguilon, you know, might be wanted by, well, there was rumours about Manchester United want him. There's rumours about him going back to Madrid, about 35 million, 40 million. I think you take your money, because I don't think he's been good enough, consistently enough for Tottenham. He's got a lot of energy. I think he did alright in his first season, but has been pretty average since. And I also believe that he doesn't get on with Conte. Just my speculation. I think that I think they clashed. I've said it for months. There's something about the relationship that doesn't add up to me. And Conte clearly he's never said anything good about Reguilon as far as I'm aware, but he always speaks quite highly of Sessegnon. So maybe he's going to go with Sessegnon as his first choice next season and have this guy Yilmaz as the backup, which is fine with me. If that's what Conte wants, that's what Conte should get. However, I do think there's massive injury problems with Sessegnon that makes him being first choice a suspect choice, because you can't rely on him too long. 3 or 4 games and it goes again. It's hamstring, and a hamstring is an injury that never really repairs itself. You know, the list of players' careers, the list of players whose careers have been cut short by hamstring injuries is never ending. And I think that Sessegnon will always carry that with him. and you'll never get more than half a season out of him unless something drastically changes in his body makeup or how he trains or whatever. But anyway, so that's the left back news. Right back news. Tottenham are interested in Dumfries again. Could have had him last season for 12 million. Didn't. He's gone over to Italy and he's now valued at 40. Typical. So there's that. Definitely need a new right wing back. I personally wouldn't mind us going for that. I've always said it since January, that Mazraoui from Ajax. Yeah, there was rumours that he signed a pre-contract with Barcelona and a few other clubs, but none of that's true yet. None of it's been announced at least. And I think Mazraoui on a free transfer, makes a lot of sense. Tried and tested in the Dutch league, tried and tested in the Champions League. Really good player. Plays the formation perfectly. But he hasn't been linked with Tottenham. Dumfries has. Obviously Jed Spence has as well, again. Along with a number of younger players from around England. And then of course the last one, guys, is a lot more noise. Every day there's more and more noise about getting Stefan de Vrij, a Dutchman. 15 million quid now is the touted price because his club have got financial difficulties. Some days the price is 40, some days it's 20, some days it's 15. If we can get him for 15 million, can you imagine, guys? Can you imagine having a back three next season of Pau Torres, De Vrij and Romero? I mean, best three, or maybe arguably the best back three in the Premier League. It's definitely up there. That'd be so sick. That'd be so sick. And then, the last one, of course, is more and more news about Christian Eriksen. Just my take on Christian Eriksen. I think it makes a ton of sense financially, because if he wants to play 3-4-3, then Eriksen doesn't play. If he wants to go 3-5-2, then Eriksen can play. But what you could do with Christian Eriksen is structure the deal leaning on his health issues. You could structure the deal in a way that is essentially the way that Liverpool, managed to attract players given their very strict wage structure. And that is that they basically pay them, relatively small salaries, but then significantly bump up their bonuses on performance-related mechanisms. So you could probably justify to Christian Eriksen paying him 100 grand a week or 80 grand a week or something like that, knowing full well that he's not going to play every week, but when he does play he gets 20 grand, and when he gets an assist or when he scores a goal or whatever he gets 50 grand. You could sign the guy for free, pay him a fairly small retainer, not need to play him that often, but when he does play he makes up the difference. Everyone's a winner, because that would be dependent on his efforts and his performance when he's there. I don't know how easy that would be, but if it is possible, it's kind of a relatively risk-free transfer, and he'd be exactly the sort of player that we would need for when we're playing against stubborn teams where the 3-4-3 isn't working and the low block is causing us frustrations. Bringing on an Eriksen to change the game would be great, and not have to spend too much of the transfer kitty or the wage budget on him initially would be a very smart move. That's what I would do. So when people say I don't want Christian Eriksen, I don't understand the rationale to not have Christian Eriksen if you could structure the deal as I've just laid out. That's it for me, guys. I don't even know if I've said anything relevant or not today, but just thought I'd get something done. I love you all. I love you all. I'll see you very soon on various channels and shows. Maybe one on my show today. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share and subscribe button. And as always, guys,